If you were having success already doing the things you needed to do, you probably wouldn't be taking this as hard as some of the others. And so just from a productivity standpoint, like what do agents need to be doing so that these kind of changes don't have such a dramatic impact and cause them to panic?
Because I believe if you're staying at the forefront of technology and utilizing social media, YouTube specifically, maybe some Instagram, you can educate the public. And that's something we should have been doing all along. We weren't, the majority of us, but I think we can take advantage of it by shooting video, educating the consumer, and just taking them through a step-by-step process, as opposed to just running out, unlocking a door, and hoping that, they want to buy that home. So, I want to jump all over it and utilize things like this on YouTube and social media for public education.
So what do you think some of the top questions are going to be that an agent needs to be prepared to handle? Because we're not the only people who are seeing these headlines. The people that you might be working with to purchase, or even those that you're working with from a listing side, they might have also seen these headlines and have questions.
Why should I sign with you? I just met you, or I just talked to you for the first time today on the phone. Why should I sign with you? And again, that's why I threw out there just a minute ago that you could even make this written contract and written agreement good for just one property even. But the point is that it forces us to put the new rules in front of the buyer, and we then through probably step by step gain their trust in order to hopefully have a long-term agreement with that buyer that you should have a contract with, which many agents did not have contracts before. They just ran out, opened a door. Maybe the buyer didn't like that property, so they showed another property the next day. But then they failed to ever get something written, and they waited until the point that they were writing an offer in order to get that buyer to sign a buyer agency agreement. Now we have to put that first, and we have to have that in writing first. So it just forces us to be better at overcoming objections such as, why should I sign with you? Or is this a long-term contract, and what does it entail? We need to be prepared to answer those questions to bring that pressure down for that buyer and that stress level down for the buyer. Because if we're doing our job, then there shouldn't be any reason why they wouldn't want representation, even if they just met you, as long as you present it properly.
And so it's almost as though you're given a platform now. If you choose to use it to do so, you're given a platform to articulate your value, and you have a fair shot of explaining, here's how I'm different from another agent. Because if you're going to be forced to have somebody sign the agreement, you might as well use that as an opportunity also to say, here are the services that we provide as part of the agreement and working with each other. So, do you have we used to call it a buyer's advantage program, or do you think that the importance of those sort of things will increase so that agents stand out from each other?
Even if we create an addendum, I don't know if we already have one in place or not. I know that they're coming up with a few things, but again, just sort of formalizing, this is what you can expect from me. This is what I expect from you in return. It's all about communication. And as long as we're doing all that, then I think we're good.
And you think there's anything that in particular you'd need to consider from the listing side when working with sellers, or even questions maybe, that sellers might have about their responsibility, or to have to pay what they might have thought was a responsibility to pay the buyer agent fees in the past? So what do you think those questions would be?
And I think that there are sellers that, through the headlines and through some of the media, maybe have already been partially misled. I've seen things that said real estate commissions are coming down. They're being slashed from like 6%. They're going to be like 3% or less now. And while that's partially true, it's not really. And some of these headlines are for clickbait so that they get clicks. But if we're truly educating a seller, we'll make sure that we cover the fact that offering a buyer's agent compensation may still be in their best interest. And obviously we can try to get the buyer to compensate their agent if it comes down to it. But also there are going to be cases where maybe it's a minimum down buyer and they cannot afford to compensate their agent. So we should be prepared for that question to come up. And Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it might not just be the 3%, but we also should budget for possibly having to compensate a buyer's agent, because having me work for you is a great thing, but having 15,000 other agents in the area working with me to work for you is an even better thing.